Hello, Standing Rock. Let's talk about my 7-point platform on education. I have less points here, obviously, because I'm not an education professional. I taught business courses at Sitting Bull College, but I recognize that the issues and factors in our school system are beyond the scope of what I've studied thus far. Nevertheless, creating progress today is dependent on the interconnectedness of certain aspects of our society. That's why my plan focuses on the 4 consortia that we've talked about: children and families, education, economy, and culture and elders. They all need to be moving forward in tandem and supporting one another. Because if one starts to lag behind, the weight of it will stop the progress in the others. So let's talk about some of the common sense solutions that I think that we can focus on through a tribal government and collaborative aspect in education. We need to get schools and community members back into participating and maximizing the education consortium. I remember the first meetings of the education consortium when I was working at Sitting Bull College. They were huge, and a lot of people were excited about them, myself included. But like so many things, people lose interest or are unable to maintain their commitments to organizations like these over time, especially if they're just voluntary. It's the goal of my entire plan that cementing these consortia into our institutional culture will make progress and innovation more common and expected of our tribal government. We need to strategize between the Children and Families Consortium and the Education Consortium. Our schools are forced to spend a great deal of time and resources on family crisis. And the more time that they have to spend on this, the less time and resources they have to spend on the quality of education. The goals of the CFC will aid in offsetting the social work demands in our schools today. I would also like to see an annual meeting between the 2 consortia to maximize their collaboration. We definitely need to focus on the dropout rates. Chairman Archambault highlighted the problem in an address to the North Dakota State Legislature in January of 2014. Unfortunately, he has since failed to really do anything about it. We cannot expect our children to succeed, or at least have a probable path to success, if they're failing to get the most important tools to transition into college or into the workforce. So we need to get everyone back to the table to discuss how best to achieve the goal of school completion and how our government can help. One major factor that I often see come up is attendance. From the data that I have seen, attendance was drastically improved when we had a truancy program through the tribal court. They have since lost the funding for that program. But I think it seems quite apparent from the data that we do have that we need to focus on either getting this program back or attempting to copy it in some way. At the same time, children who grow up without positive norms in their life need to receive extra focus, especially on creating motivation. The work being done on a Standing Rock parenting curriculum, which is a goal of our current Children and Families Consortium, will help give parents the tools that they need to motivate and support their children all the way through school completion. The other major factor to attendance and consequently dropout rates that I often hear is the problem of bullying in our schools. Bullying, I think we know, is a pervasive problem throughout the country. However, I think that it is always made worse in areas that are occupied by symptoms of poverty. When families are struggling just to get the resources that they need to survive, it creates this chain of abuse and strain that adds to conditions that are favorable for bullying. This, of course, also adds to our problem of suicides. This is another area that I want to collaborate with our culture to create a school initiative using the teachings of our culture to focus on building resiliency in our youth and better ingraining the ideals of respect and compassion in them for one another. I think that looking at other models in our area schools that have higher graduation rates would also be good. Are there practices in those other schools that we can adopt in the schools that don't have quite so high graduation rates? I know that the ICU program has worked great in certain schools for ensuring that children don't fall behind. I think that that program, and also looking at how best to utilize IEPs and how effective they're being utilized, will aid in our mission. Finally, I will never forget listening to interviews of youth in a meeting. I can't remember which one. But these individuals had graduated from our schools. And many of them talked about how ill prepared they were for college. Some ended up dropping out of college, and the rest struggled to maintain or find their footing. Either way, I think this is evidence that we need to do more to transition students to the self-responsibility of going to college and/or joining the workforce. We are a work in progress, Standing Rock. And I know that we are full of dedicated, passionate people who are working to move us forward. All we are really missing is a unified direction, improved communication and collaboration, and leaders with the vision and tenacity to see us through the great works of our time. But we can build a better future. I believe in us. So this concludes my video for my education platform. In our next videos, we will discuss my 12-point plan on our economy. Thank you again for your time, Standing Rock.